Welcome back to Las Vegas. It's Alex Belfield talking to the stars of the Strip, and trust me, they come no bigger than Wayne Newton. How are you?
I'm doing great, and thank you for the very kind compliment.
It's not very often you get to interview somebody who's a star internationally and someone that people will queue around the block to see. How have you created this brand?
I'm not sure in reality that it was done intentionally. I would love to tell you that it was and tell you how bright I am, but the truth of the matter is that I came to Las Vegas at the age of 15, and I came here from Virginia through Arizona because I had asthma, and the desert climate worked for me, and as did Arizona. So when I got here and I realized I wasn't sick most of the time, I just stayed, and so I stayed so long that people just got used to the fact I was here. So I think that's truly what happened, you know.
Forgive me for this, but I mean it as the greatest compliment possible. I think you were around during the best days of Vegas. I'm not sure this place is as fun now as it was then because it's more of a business.
I think that the companies, publicly held companies that have taken over the hotels, obviously have turned them into a different animal than what they were intended to be. We were talking about the old days last night where the subject came up of the Rat Pack, and when Sammy and Frank and Dean and Peter Lawford and Joey Bishop were on stage at the Sands in the mid-'60s, people got a dinner and the show for $5.95. What happened is that in the earlier years of this town, the people who ran these hotels were aware of the fact that they needed a farm team. And so the farm team became the lounges. That was the place that the younger performers could come and learn. And so in the lounges, we had people like Louis Prima and Keely Smith. We had Ike and Tina Turner. We had Wayne Newton. We had people who, we had Don Rickles. We had Shecky Green. All of these people came out of the lounges and then worked their way up into the main showrooms. Nowadays, with this, with the corporate mentality of every aspect of the hotel has to carry its own weight, and the more rooms they can lease out to people to pick up, you know, the cost of the room, they don't really care who's in them anymore. And so I think that that's going a long way to dissipate something that was a home run. And so it might take a while to get back to that.
The reason I admire people like you and Sinatra and Dean Martin, you really don't need a swimming pool with dancers or a big 3,000-foot stage. You just need a microphone so you can be heard, and there's your 90 minutes.
Exactly. I think that that we have run the gamut in town in terms of production shows. They have spent about as much as they can spend legally on production shows. It makes it impossible in reality, once these hotels go that way and spend that amount of money, it really makes it impossible for them to stand back and look at it in an objective way. They have to stand back and say, well, we've got this much money in it, and damn it, we're going to back it, and we're going to do this. And so they do. Unfortunately, and fortunately, I think it works both ways. Once people have seen a production show, many times they're not anxious to run back and see it again. Contrary to going to see Cher or going to see a single performer, they will develop a friendship in some ways with that performer, which will draw them back again to see another show. What's being missed in this whole equation of the giant super shows with thousands in the cast and thousands of dollars a night versus the single performer who can walk out and entertain people. What the equation that's missing, in my opinion, is that these corporations don't understand that people go to see a singer, or they go to see a Terry Fator, or they go to see Lionel Richie or Cher or whomever is there. Every song and every bit that the performer is doing takes the individual person back to a different time and place. And since you don't know what that time and place is, of course, it varies with every person in the audience. And so therefore, you never know what you're reaching and the trips that they're taking themselves on by virtue of that moment that you're giving them.
You're now in your mid-30s, and you've been doing this a while. Why are you laughing?
That's very nice of you. Thank you. My 6-year-old daughter said to me, Daddy, how old are you? And I said, I'm 14. And so about 2 weeks passed, and she said, Daddy, how old are you? I said, I'm 14. She said, I don't think so. I said, why? She said, because you drive a car. So, I like the 30s. Let's just stay there.
All right, let's stay there then. You've been doing this a while, and I'm trying to think why it is you're still here when so many have faded. And having watched you just now for 90 minutes, it seems to me you still love it as much as you did then. It doesn't seem like this is particularly hard work to you.
It's not work at all. And in fact, I had an interviewer one time say to me, when do you dread to go to work? Now, obviously, we're all humans, and there are days that we feel better, and there are days we have a cold, and there are days that we sing better, and there are days that, all these things happen. However, I have never dreaded going to work. And so therefore, I've never worked a day in my life as a result of it.
You reminded me of a guy called Bob Monkhouse in Britain. You seem to have a line for everything.
Well, I think when you stay on those boards long enough, anything that can happen will happen. And if you apply that principle, then I don't think that there is a night that I walk out there that I don't learn something, even if it's what not to do again or what not to say again. Tonight we had a fire alarm go off at the end of the show, which is always fun. And people are deciding, well, now, is this real or is this not real? So you have to put them at ease quickly and in a way that is lighthearted so that they know that there's no danger. I have had too many times and I could really write a book about them, of everything from, if it's technical, of course, you can bet that it's going to go out. Sooner or later, it's not going to work. So you have to be prepared for that. Then there are times that I've had people die in the audience.
Die.
I've had 2 people die at my shows. Now, those listening, I don't want you to think that that's something that often happens in our show, but this one lady was down front, had a heart attack, and I have a cue just from having things happen again. With the lighting people, where I go to the other side of the stage, which they're not expecting, and I say, give me one spotlight. What that tells my light man is we've got a problem down front. So you guys handle it. And by taking the attention away, you also give help the chance to get there and help them. Now, in this one instance, a guy and a lady came to my show, and they were in a booth. And it was a father and his daughter. And he had a heart attack and died. The paramedics came in and ready to remove him. And the daughter said, oh, no, you're not. He waited his entire life to see this show, and he's going to see this show. So, I mean, if it can't happen, it will. You know.
And in the contract, do I get a refund if I die during the show?
Well, it depends on where in the show. If it's soon enough, yes. If it's late in the show, no.
Wayne, tell me this. How does it feel to know that Frank Sinatra knows you?
Well, I got to tell you, knowing those guys and then ultimately becoming friends with them was a double compliment. I was always a big fan, but I came up here as a kid, and I was doing 6 shows a night, 6 nights a week, while Frank and the guys were partying at the Sands, you know. So I wasn't even allowed to the parties. They kind of looked out for me as the kid, and in 1976, I ended up with pneumonia, and I was in the hospital for a week. And the first 2 calls I got in the hospital were from Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. So I can't begin to tell you what that means to me. I can tell you, though, that it truly becomes more and more important in retrospect, because when you know those people and they are friends, Elvis, for example, was a dear friend, it never occurred to me, hey, let's get a picture. Hey, let's go do this, and, you know, so we'll have some film or that kind of thing. Because it's just, that's what we did, you know. And so it would be impossible to tell you what they have meant to my life and also my ability to appreciate the good times.
I never met Frank Sinatra. I did interview Frank Sinatra Jr. once, and he had a great aura about him. Is it true what they say about the big man, that you just knew you were in the presence of Frank Sinatra?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Frank could walk in anywhere, or Dean, or Sam. I remember I had got invited in 1968 to do a Royal Command performance in your country, all right? And Sammy was closing the show. And Sammy comes walking down the street with a top hat and a cane. And there must have been 60 people following him. Now, some of them didn't even know who he was. They just thought, I better follow this guy because he's important, you know.
Like the Pied Piper. What's it like in Vegas at the moment? I mean, you're here at the Tropicana doing this show. You're about to close, and then you're doing films and all kinds of stuff. Does it still mean something to you to be current and on stage? Because, like we've said before, it's a business. If you weren't selling out, you wouldn't be here.
Yes, it does. It probably means more to me than possibly my family or even some buyers in Las Vegas. It means more to me because the reason I started in this business at the age of 4 is I was taken to a show that had come through my hometown. And I remembered we were in kind of the nosebleed section of the audience. And I remembered not only the performers, because they were doing country music at that particular show, but the thing that really hit me, and I remember it like it was yesterday, is I kept looking around at the looks on people's faces. And I saw the happiness that they were feeling. I saw the escape that they were feeling. And I remember turning to my mother and saying, that's what I want to do. And all of the aspects of show business that I have enjoyed, being recording and television and movies, and my true love is walking out on that stage, not because of the applause, contrary to popular belief in many ways. What I love is to look at the people's faces and start to see when something I'm doing is taking them to that special place of theirs. And for me, that's a reason to wake up.
Do you think you were born to do this?
Well, if I wasn't, it is too late to change now.
Well, you're only in your 30s, there's still time.
Well, the truth of the matter is that I thought that, well, when I get to be of a retirement mature age, right, will I still want to do this? And the answer to that is absolutely. I can't think of anything I'd rather do. And of course, the big fear is that if I quit doing this, I'd have to get a job. So I prefer to do what I'm doing.
You did a radio show at 5.
I did. I was in Roanoke, Virginia, WDBJ, and I was part of a country music group, and I sang and played steel guitar.
Incredible. And then I read you've done like 130-something albums.
Actually 165 by the time you put the compilations together. And what's fun for me now is to have people hand me albums and I look at the songs on them and I don't remember recording them. So no, I think that's a good time.
And how many number ones? Let's talk about the number ones that you've had.
We have had 10 number ones. We have had 17 top 10s. And we have enjoyed 50 top 20s.
As far as I'm concerned, you're the last living legend on the strip who's doing the big business. Do you think there'll be another Frank Sinatra, another Dean Martin, or another Wayne Newton?
Unfortunately, I don't see that ever happening again because I think part of what created Frank and part of what created Sammy, and I know part of what created me, the town doesn't have the ability to do that anymore. We don't have the ability anywhere, when you think about it, for youngsters to learn how to walk out on stage and what to do in times of trouble and why it is that they're out there. Now they come and go so fast. Television burns them up so fast. Record companies burn them up so fast simply because of places like internet and those things that people no longer have control over. That I'm not sure that there is the same vehicle to allow a person to evolve the way Frank did and Sammy did.
Congratulations on being you. I could talk to you for 16 hours because you must have so many stories that you could tell us, and I'd love to talk to you again in more detail. Wayne Newton, thanks for coming on the program.
I look forward to talking again, and thank you for the invitation.